Security Weekly is brought to you by
NetSparker, the developers of desktop and cloud-based web application security scanners that enable you to automatically identify vulnerabilities in your web applications and web services. NetSparker scanners employ a unique and dead-accurate vulnerability scanning engine that automatically verifies vulnerabilities with a proof of concept. For more information, visit them on the web at netsparker.com or email them at contact@netsparker.com. ProXPN is the leading VPN service offering free accounts, excellent premium features, and an outstanding commitment to privacy and security online. Use the discount code WEEKLY and save 50% off for life. Tenable Network Security, creators of Nessus, the world's best vulnerability scanner. Jumpstart your security program today and evaluate Security Center CV, the continuous monitoring solution. For more information, visit them on the web at tenable.com. Overwhelmed when it comes time to choose which cigar to smoke? Confused by the differences between 60 ring gauge, Robusto, Corona, and Lancero? Do you yearn to try all the new cigars on the market, but need a guide to tell you where to start? Look no further than the Stogie Geek Show! Hosted by yours truly and Will Cooper, we've made it our mission to educate both new and experienced cigar smokers. Tune in for interviews with leaders in the cigar industry, how-to segments, and weekly cigar reviews. Visit StogieGeeks.com to subscribe to our podcast, watch the live show, and discover our video archives. Stogie Geeks, geeks kicking ash. Welcome back, everyone, to Security Weekly. This is the security news for this week. I'm going to just jump right into it because this first story is freaking awesome. Way too many things are exposing VNC on the internet. Now, the funny part of this story is there was a new website that someone put up.
God, yes.
Called VNC Roulette, right?
Yes.
But someone hacked VNC Roulette. Did you see this?
Yeah. Yes.
I go to VNC Roulette and I'm like, holy shit. Did I disable JavaScript? Fuck. Now I'm decoding JavaScript from the website to make sure it's not doing anything evil. Like, oh my God. Close my browser.
and they were, at least they were original. I mean, at least they didn't use like hackers speak and green text on a dark background. Oh, yeah. No, they did this.
So you saw this too.
Yes. It's like, really? What year is it? Come on.
I decoded the JavaScript, and all it did was disable the keyboard input. I don't know why they... It was like triple encoded JavaScript, but it didn't do anything interesting as far as I could tell. I looked at it really quick.
As far as you know, right?
As far as I know. Not Kevin has joined us.
Hello.
What's going on, Not Kevin?
Living the dream.
Excellent.
Yeah, he is.
We're talking about VNC Roulette.
Disaster.
Have you seen it? Did you try and did you read this article?
No, but I can only imagine there's a lot of hilarity behind that.
Yeah, well, so the hilarity is X-ray equipment, farm machinery, electricity generators, security cameras all have VNC enabled. Someone created a website called VNC Roulette to display all these random images and screens, and then someone hacked that website and put up like a really script kiddie, I hacked this website thing. Yes.
Talky thing, yeah.
Like when it comes to...
But
we talk about IoT a lot on this show, and I think it's really important that everyone out there understands that every device going forward that's IoT should have VNC enabled with default credentials.
Why should you bother putting credentials in?
Yeah, that's an extra step. IoT is about ease of use, right?
That's right.
You got to enable everything. So you want to log in remotely without a password? Absolutely, go for it. It's perfect.
We should just go ahead and call it IOE, Internet of Exploitation.
Now, there's an X-ray machine in a facility in Nevada, but it looks like this is like not a medical X-ray machine, like it's used to like X-ray packages or something. You know what I'm saying? Like shipments or something like that.
An X-ray
not this kind of package, right?
Yeah, not your package.
Yeah.
Then there's a farm equipment, which is interesting. And then there's a desktop from someone in China who looks like they're torrenting likely pirated software, a CCTV system, and a control panel from a lecture room, which is all pretty interesting. They say it's kind of interesting that there are at least 3.4 million machines offering Windows Remote Desktop connections to the world. We should keep those secure as well. It's a different story, obviously, with that. But apparently there's 550,000 things, according to Shonan, that offer VNC access. Now, whether or not that was all open without a password, VNC Roulette had grabbed 550 examples of insecure remote desktops, which is not a lot. So I don't know.
550 or 550,000?
550. There are 550,000 things on the internet, according to the article, and 550 were on VNC Roulette before they got hacked, which you'd think a website that's just going to display 550 images could be pretty well secured against script kiddie defacers.
yeah, right.
Apparently not. Apparently not.
The only way this could be better is if they got in through VNC.
Yes. VNC Roulette was running
God.
VNC.
Yeah. That would have been a beautiful irony right there. But anyway.
The only reason that story is interesting is because the VNC site
got hacked.
Yep. So
actually, on that note, Paul, did you guys read about the attack on HID readers?
No.
Yes.
Oh, that was awesome.
So Trend Micro released a report about some of the flagship HID devices, obviously the RFID controlling door locks, all that fun stuff for getting into physical facilities. Well, there's a very easy way to compromise these devices. And what someone also found, what I'm assuming utilizing Shodan, is that some of these devices are on the internet. It's awesome. So talk about VNC Roulette. Now you have HID Roulette. So you might be able to open some doors remotely.
And it's
Yourself in.
the commands are sent, as I understand, broadcast UDP. So if you get in, you can just throw it at the network, and maybe all the doors in the airport or university or whatever will just open.
Open all the doors at once.
That's just a UDP. What
That's
could
just
go
like
wrong?
a movie.
Yeah,
That's
send
like movie
and
hacking.
spray.
So if you're going to hack they say the hacking is in quotes here. It's not really a hack. Apparently they could see a screen to see if tickets were winners before they printed them out and bought them. I mean, it's not a hack like you think, right? But if you're going to hack a lottery like that and you're not going to be any smart about it, like these people were pretty stupid about it, you're going to get caught. Just throwing that out there is going to be a lot of headlines because they very closely monitor that. And I'm saying it's perfect, but obviously the lottery commission noticed when like more winning scratch tickets or whatever they were, card cash games, were winning at a higher than expected rate. Like, oops, that's just ridiculous.
Yeah, well, hey, that's a classic heuristics approach, right?
Yes.
They know what the baseline behavior should be. And so if it deviates heuristically, busted. End of story.
Yep.
It took them a while because they were able to get quite a lot of money out of this.
Well, yeah, and it's interesting, Kevin, like, you think about how long before you detect an attack, right? Like, you want to shorten that. So I'm wondering if hopefully the lottery commission is going to learn from it and be able to shorten that window so that they can detect it much earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, they should also fix the game so that you can't see what the winning tickets are. I was hoping it was something more.
From what I understand, what they were doing is they were entering or trying to process a large number of tickets at one time, which would cause the terminal to freeze. Mm-hmm. And because of that, they've been able to look through those transactions and pick out the ones that were defined as winners. So this is kind of like a local attack. So you would have to actually start looking at the payout. So I guess I'm not surprised that it took them so long to catch up because they were able to, I think, over a couple $1 million.
Wow, that's a pretty significant payout.
Does that come under the category of overplaying your hand when you're causing denial of service?
Well, be local to that terminal.
Ah, okay. Sorry, totally missed it.
The interesting part with this next story is that malware hits LiveJournal with a exploit with an Angular exploit kit. People still use LiveJournal? That was my only takeaway from that. Anyway, I didn't know LiveJournal was still a thing. U.S. law firms are under investigation.
Moving on.
That was really all I had on that story. Was just curious, but just shocked that people were still use LiveJournal. I thought it was kind of like the MySpace of hosted websites, but FBI investigates hacks against U.S. law firms. It's interesting. We don't we've covered security news for a long time, and other than like small business style law firms like getting hacked in masses, we've never heard about like big law firms getting hacked. And I thought it was interesting. Like, why would attackers go after big law firms? Maybe this is a extortion kind of thing, ransomware. But I just thought this was an interesting target for me.
It depends on what they do. I mean, there might be, insider trading angles. There might be competitive intelligence angles. There might be, if they're handling contract negotiations, if you can compromise law practice. Maybe they're doing law practices that do a lot of tax stuff because the state of tax fraud is out of control. So there are all sorts of things that lawyers. When you said law firms and FBI, I figured that somebody was going to finally crack down on the amount of pirated software used in the legal profession. So I've heard, because I'm sure no one here has ever worked for or in a law office and seen that they anecdotally don't like to pay for software and feel they're above that because they're lawyers.
There's an increased target on Wall Street. Organizations such as J.P. Morgan Chase, law firms and brokerages, to speak to your point, Jack. Speaking of which, you see what was the movie called about the crash in 2008?
I have not seen it yet. Yeah.
What's it called? The Big
There's
Game?
a movie already?
There's a movie already, and it's awesome. It's awesome.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, most of the security folks would really dig it, too, because it's kind of interesting. Talk about data analytics, right, Geoff?
Yeah.
There's a guy that basically is looking at all of the numbers surrounding the mortgage bonds and starts doing statistical analysis about who holds mortgages that are backed by these bonds and figures out basically before anyone else that there's going to be a crash. Now, I don't know how much conspiracy theory you believe that other people knew about this or just didn't care to look, but this one really smart guy looked and was like, holy crap.
Yeah, I mean, there are people that always predict a crash coming, right? There's always somebody who says the world's about to end, but and every now and then it does, and people think they're brilliant. But it's people like this that could statistically say, based on this, we're building an economy on a house of cards, and people are pulling the bottom cards out.
Yeah. Well,
I was about to say he did the math and realized that, hey, this is a musical chairs game, and
well, it was really interesting. The thing that
the music stops. Right?
Well, the thing that scared me was then they started peeling back the layers. So you had all these mortgages, right, and they're all rated with a rating based on whether or not they think people are going to pay. And there's AAA, and the lowest is B or whatever, right? So it's like all these B ones are basically garbage, and they found out that they were rating the B ones as A ones. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was they were taking all the B ones and taking them out, and then repackaging them and reselling them and putting back into the system. They were just compounding the problem, power of 10. There was the problem the guy found, right? And then they found that basically it was exponentially compounding on itself, which is ultimately what led to such a drastic crash. But it's really interesting for security people to watch because it's a lot about analyzing that data. It's pretty cool stuff. Anyway, holy crap! Bash on someone tell me how Ubuntu is on Windows 10. Someone, what is going on
I can
here?
tell you.
It's
no. It's
regedit 32systemd.exe. What?
Okay, it's not Ubuntu. It is a system for translating syscalls in the Linux kernel world for Windows. Did Carlos just hang up on us?
Yeah, we need Carlos for the story. Carlos, come back.
So what we're talking about here, the interesting thing about this story is Bash and the binaries that come with it on Windows are native ELF binaries. We're not talking about PECOF binaries here. They're native ELF binaries. And so the DLL magic in the background, I'm going to assume that it's DLL, is translating Linux syscalls directly down to Windows kernel, which is pretty cool stuff. So that's it. The Bash on Windows. It's real.
And this is just Bash, not like like SSH, because I really want SSH.
I don't know whether SSH is included, but I think the fact that it's Bash and everything that is included in Bash means it's a first foray into potentially more stuff. Because you can apt-get, install, and all that good stuff in Ubuntu. So you are opening the door for more ELF-compatible binaries to come down. Right?
I gotcha.
And by itself, this is kind of significant, but when we also look at moves like Microsoft SQL on Linux, there's some very interesting stuff happening with Microsoft and Linux. I mean, just Microsoft and SQL on Linux is probably
that's a direct response to Oracle.
Right. Yeah. And that's it. It's like, wow, you want for a fraction of the price, you want something more secure that you can run it on a platform that Yeah, that's a shot at Oracle. The problem with Oracle, people are unlikely to move, I think, because of like SAP. The people that are running it for a reason. It's also what I coined software Stockholm syndrome. You start to rationalize, you start to sympathize with your captors when you give that much money to Larry Ellison so he can race his boats. You start to think it's a good idea, no matter how much better the alternatives are.
Do you guys know that firepower devices might let attackers through with some software bugs? Do you guys know what firepower is?
I do. You're talking about Cisco product, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Firepower is what they renamed from SourceFire.
SourceFire, right?
Oh, yeah. I thought I was bad at naming crap.
Yeah.
Now I don't feel bad.
I agree. Talk about a naming disaster.
Disaster. You hit the nail on the head right there, Joff. It is a naming disaster.
I feel so validated, Paul.
Yes. Yes.
Well, I don't know.
I'd almost like there's a vulnerability in it, but that's not the interesting thing to me. Like the interesting thing to me is like how horribly
that
screwed
whole
up the naming.
New next gen fire, that whole NGFW space, which is blended with the UTM space, is also where we have
EIEO animals.
Sonic. We have Sonic Walls. What is that thing? Oh, Supermassive. Let's not forget the Sonic Wall Supermassive firewall line.
Don't talk about Paul's genitals like that.
They named their firewall Supermassive.
I'm pretty sure that was it. I may have to go. Yeah, Supermassive, right? That was somebody out there's yelling at their car as they drive right now, and I swear that's what it was called.
Was this
Supermassive? Okay, so
Sonic Wall Supermassive.
Yeah.
Penis.
So I understand that marketing people.
Sonic Wall. You're right.
Supermassive.
Sonic Wall Supermassive.
There's a $118,000. So not only is it supermassive,
first of all,
it's a supermassive bill that you get when you buy it.
It's a supermassive Sonic Wall too. Let's.
Oh, okay. Maybe that was the game.
Stop there.
If we name it Supermassive, that's going to implant a suggestion in customers' heads that you have to bring your very supermassive bag of money.
Well, which this is reminding me of
but it's still a next generation firewall. But next generation, firewalls came out a long time ago.
Right.
So it's just like the next generation, or is it still next? Like, what generation are we in? We're always in the next one.
Hey, I've got a suggestion. We're going to talk about Gen 10. That's what we're going to talk about. We'll just put it out there. We're going to go have a Gen 10 firewall.
So
That's
firepower,
Gen
yes,
10
firepower.
was so much like way better than Gen 9 too. I mean, the difference
I
is
know, right?
staggering.
But the interesting thing about firepower is that Cisco has like firewalls that they claim are in GFW in the ASA
Like
line.
real-time threat analytics and dynamic big
I'm
data
not-
correlation.
I'm starting to see the value in threat intel. So
Do you see how
How you
Paul
made a complete 180, Jack, from the last time you were on the show? Like,
you know what I said last time. I stand by. You know, there's a lot of really garbage threat intel, and there's some outstanding threat intel too. And sooner or later, you'll know what I'm talking about.
In your defense, in our defense, you did say most.
I did.
Threat intelligence was a threat to your intelligence, was the quote, which was circulating on Twitter, got retweeted a bunch of times. It was Jack's quote. He said it on the show.
Well, I was just thinking how much Paul...
Right, not all, most. Like, definitely not.
Not
Threat
all.
Connect.
There's some,
definitely
not. No,
you
there
were
is
not.
some outstanding threat intelligence available. You might learn more about that in coming months.
They could be a new sponsor.
You know what I think we
Throw
should
that
call
out
it? We
there.
need to call it synergistic threat intelligence.
Oh God.
There it is.
Oh, boy.
So anyway,
Oh, God.
I'm glad I'm leveraging
so while you're trying to figure out what we're doing, if
I'm
anybody's
trying to figure out how to breathe. I've had this cough for a week.
if anybody's, you need more of that Stro 80. If anybody's going to be at the NIST cybersecurity
they're
conference
going
in
to read the
Gaithersburg,
cybersecurity framework aloud.
I hope they don't read the whole thing. If you listen live or
sit through all of
quickly,
it.
I'll come by and say hello, and we can sit in the back of the room in Gaithersburg at NIST and try to
While
keep
they
each
read
other awake. I'll see you at InfoSec Southwest in a little over a week, and besides Calgary at the end of the month, and Chicago for a partner event for the corporate overlords. So I'll be on the road while others are.
Oh, this is the worst article of the week. Holy crap. Holy crap. I can't even, I can't blame the author because he's Armenian. So I can't pick on the fellow Armenian brothers. So, but he says, or the article says, that dark web's got a bad rap, and a recent report says that 7 in 10 want to shut down the dark web.
Yes.
Did I just?
Yeah.
How do you? I say that, and I'm so enraged for so many reasons, Jack, that I physically can't form the words.
Well, this is man on the
strong enough.
street interviews of people, and they do sort of try to explain what the dark web is.
No, this is a recent study of
Yeah.
websites on the dark web found that 57% of them hosted activities like crime, drugs,
Right.
illegal content, and illegitimate porn and violent extremism, right?
Right.
But then they did a survey
Of man on the street survey.
Center for International Governments Innovation, CIGI,
Right.
conducted by a global research company, Ipsos. The survey of 24,000 internet users in 24 countries claims that 71% of
Right, but
people wouldn't mind seeing the
But
back
these
of
are
the dark
average internet users. These aren't
Right.
technically savvy people.
Okay, first of all, how do you even just define the dark web? I mean, honestly, isn't that just the internet? I'm just saying.
Well, it's, some parts of it are easy. Like if you're using Tor hidden services, you're on the dark web. Whether
That
you're
means I'm on the dark
whether you're
web all the
selling
time.
bad
Yeah.
drugs or good drugs, whichever your definition of either is, or whether you're trying to circumvent, state
Or
suppression of your
when-
rights or whatever.
The Revolutionary War, we were breaking off from Britain, we had ways to communicate. And that was kind of like the dark web.
In the same article, though, a lot of people think they're being tracked online and wish they weren't. One of the related surveys was like, we should get rid of that dark web thing, and I wish people wouldn't follow me around the internet. I'm like, oh, Jesus, just come on. All right.
That's just so...
Just
My friends are scratching their heads a lot.
I know. Well, it goes back to telephony, right? When you meant the telephone. I mean, there's all kinds of ways. I mean, not Kevin. You were probably more friendly with some of the people that were into phone freaking, right? I mean, there was all kinds of ways you could create back channels in the phone system, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Could we call it the dark telephone?
Yeah.
It's the dark phone.
Dark telephone.
The dark
That's
phone.
right. The
dark
dark phone.
phone,
It's
yes.
the dark phone.
If
Now
anyone
we-
trademarked that, I want 10% of it.
That's right. Now we have the dark. I mean, how do it's? I don't know. I can't even verbalize how ridiculous it is when people even say the dark web and now talk about shutting it down like it's a thing. It's not about whether it's dark or it's light. It's the internet, for crying out loud. It's computers connected and talking to each other.
It's
a cesspool.
It's
That's what it is.
the dark web. We have cookies. No, wait, that's it.
Come to the dark web. We have cookies. Like, is there like a separate browser I need to install to access the dark web?
That's right.
Fine.
God, Tor.
It's just so ridiculous.
No browser shaming, Paul. Come on now.
Actually,
I
Jack, I have a story that's kind of on your note about the privacy side. Of course, I have a privacy story. So the FCC last week actually issued a warning, not any kind of official ruling, against Android developers who were utilizing
oh yes, that
was an always-on service on a phone that would listen for an inaudible tone or frequency that would come out of your television to help figure out what you're watching.
What?
Oh yeah, you hadn't heard about this? Yeah,
Spooky.
Kevin. This one would just. What's the software called? I'm blanking on the name because
Silver Push.
Right, Silver Push. Oh my God.
Wait,
This
so
is,
there's an app you put on your phone called...
no, it's not an app you put on your phone. You put apps on your phone
And they...
that happen to have Silver Push embedded. And I assume that what they're doing is that app makes, instead of ad revenue from you, they're making revenue by selling your usage data, is my understanding, to people who would like to know what it is you do.
And this app it
Is
listens...
listening for non-audible tones that the machine can hear but you can't. You know, with me that's easy, but you know, even you kids can't hear it.
Anything above 5 kilohertz and Jack can
So like
hear
it can
it.
tell what you're watching on TV?
Yeah,
How?
Tone.
carrier tones. There's like a carrier tone or a signaling tone is my.
It's got to be a modulated tone that actually carries data. Is what it'll be. But I'm sure Kevin can explain it to us
If
while
we'll
I
just
stop
shut up.
bullshitting.
Yeah, so according to a couple of the articles, the Silver Push SDK was an embedded feature that you'd put into your app. And what it would do is it would have an always-on listening feature with the phone's microphone. And it would listen to specifically whatever the kind of audio beacon that the advertising company would embed into a television program that would then be able to correlate that your phone is listening to this advertisement. And then it'd be able to start following you around since it's always listening. I'm assuming it probably wasn't just television that they were pushing these things out. So it was a way to start linking an individual user's kind of media activity. What are they being projected based from advertising, but also because it's on their phone, they can start looking at what other apps you're using, what are your social media accounts. So it's a way of starting to build a larger kind of data profile about you. But it all starts with this all-on microphone that's constantly listening for these inaudible beacons.
It's all in the demographics, right? But it's using the technology to modify the data that's collected and focus it, which is what was the 1984, right? But we're just here in 2016, and now we're here. So, or George Orwell had it wrong by about 30 odd years, but.
That's more Brave New World than 1984. That's more
true,
more commercial and corporatism than government stuff. But yeah, it's still things we didn't want. We still wanted those things to be fiction. It's like I have a plea for the world. The movie Idiocracy was not a how-to guide. Stop it.
Yeah.
It's also important to note that this was never disclosed to the user.
It's important to note, too, that electrolytes are what plants crave.
What plants crave.
the
My mouth still
key, right?
The first year of B-Sides Vegas, somebody got cases and cases of that stuff. And we were
it's for European energy drinks.
No, not Club Mate.
Elixir, Club Mate,
Not
no?
Club Mate. The stuff from the movie. What was the...
Oh, there was stuff from them.
Anyway,
Brondo.
Brondo, yes.
Brondo, yes.
Oh, we had cases of that, and everybody was
Okay, it's scary
chugging
that
the
he knows
stuff.
that.
And after like 2 days, our mouths were all like tingly and buzzy and dehydrated. And it was like,
I had sores and welts on my face. It was terrible.
And that's because it was produced in Chernobyl.
Yes. I talked with a lisp, glowed in the dark. It was great.
yeah, it's wonderful.
Medical devices have vulnerabilities.
No.
No.
No way. Oh,
No.
seriously.
Get out. That's the big headline. I mean, I love Billy Rios. He's been on the show, I think, multiple times.
Oh, God, but the one that he just did, the
Yeah.
drug... yeah.
But,
Hey,
yeah, I mean...
unpatched, XP embedded with unpatched crystal reports.
So, of course, it's going to have a lot of vulnerabilities. I mean...
Yeah,
You
but
think?
it's the gateway to it's the gatekeeper to the morphine
It is a
And
drug
the-
dispensary,
and
I know, no, but
and the
listen, it gets
Dilaudid
worse.
and the
all the good stuff.
yeah, it's
It gets worse because large public universities that run public offices, sorry, Jesus,
Public hospitals?
large public universities that run public hospitals have these devices on the public internet.
right.
Surprise, right? These devices are directly accessible with vulnerable software on the public internet. Congratulations, everybody.
But
It's a
yeah,
beautiful thing.
but you unless they have a new class of exploit, it's not going to deliver the morphine to your office when you hack them from home.
That'd be a trick.
That'd be a trick, yeah. I think you still have to walk up to the machine to have it jackpot and spit the morphine out.
Man, the inconveniences, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just not right.
Now, should you have a friend who's dumb enough to walk around hospitals with a headset on as you tell them, go look for the one that's beeping because I'm going to make it spit morphine out at you and you catch it, then maybe that would. I'm not trying to give people ideas, but if they're that dumb, they're probably going to get caught.
Well, and physical security in a hospital is tough. It's tough because the general public is usually there.
Right. That's right.
right, and
the same as-
and there
the
has
one
to be
exception to that is the maternity ward, because people have been known to walk off with a baby. So physical security is very tight. But the rest of the hospital is usually. I mean, I can
pretty
walk
open.
around and no one really. I mean,
um,
the hospital where my wife works at is the large hospital in Rhode Island. You know what I'm talking about, Jack, right? And like, there are literally every time, like, if I visit her at work or go there for whatever reason, there's literally people wandering around aimlessly looking lost all the time because the place is so big,
Right.
and it's so horribly laid out. Like, you could totally blend in at any time in a hospital and do like
Yeah,
a
and then
sit
you,
check.
and then you have the realization that they're the actual doctors.
Yeah, some of it's a staff.
Right,
Like,
right.
what?
right.
I thought that office was over here now.
Yeah.
And, well, and people move too. So it's very
I
confusing.
have some stories about. Well, let's just say there's a friend and headed into the ER in a big metropolitan hospital. the orderlies that were taking them to the ER forgot how to find the ER.
Oh, Jesus.
So
Why are we in the morgue? Hold
They-
on. No, wait. I'm not dead yet.
took the they ended up in the wrong building. It was one of those giant urban hospitals
Yeah.
that's morphed into the ones around
Multiple-
them.
Yes.
And so you go into the sub basement and there are tunnels and then you connect but there's like one place where there are dozens of operating theaters adjacent. That way, if you're doing, heart surgery and they have kidney failure while they're on the table, the kidney guy's over there, or Cal, right? But yes, I know someone who actually was like, I'm still feeling everything. Oh, we haven't given you the good drugs to put you out yet. Don't worry. She's like, is this where we're supposed to be? And they're like, I don't know.
Jesus.
Oh, man.
Oh my God.
Wow.
And so perhaps
Failure on so many levels.
these people know how to get the morphine out of the machine.
Oh boy.
Okay.
This would
we
be funny
certainly
if
have
I weren't
something else
old
to
and
talk
feeble.
about.
Yes.
You can prevent ransomware by making backups, conducting user training, and doing defense in depth. I actually read an article that said that this week. God, what is wrong with people?
Well, there's one component you're missing in that the defense in depth strategy, which is a WAF. You definitely need one.
Need a WAF. Yes. And a next generation firewall. Next generation firewall.
But
Next
not,
Gen 2.0.
but
with
not
round edges.
not an IDS because those are dead.
You need an adaptive next generation real-time threat protection system, Jack, is what you need.
That's right. That leverages core competencies and seeks synergy at all opportunities.
The graphs. It has to have the graphs.
The graphs. And that's pretty graphs.
And it has, and there's one, the executive report is a traffic light. It has red, green, yellow. No, wait, red, amber, green. There we go. And it's always on green.
But, Job, it's important to note, and then to be transparent, that the executive report is an add-on service to the subscription. That's an extra $19.95.
Oh, yeah. That'll cost you like half the price of the product alone.
I'm having flashbacks from my development meeting today. They're like, the front end is coming along and the back end's coming along, but they're not talking to each other. I'm like, that's all right. It just needs to look okay. It doesn't have to do anything. I kid. No.
Are we back to strippers on ball?
No, we're not. How are you always going there, Joff? What is wrong with you? Good Lord.
I've got to turn 50 this year, man. It's just a thing.
All right. Well, do the strippers on your own time, okay?
Okay.
Don't do that.
Joff, just keep the strippers on your own pole. Or,
yes.
Wait.
No.
No, wait, that's wrong too.
Anyway.
We'll discuss
There's no way to dig out of this.
Who says we're trying to get out of it? Even met us.
Let's talk about a self-protecting Trojan.
So back to Joff's stripper pole.
No, it's a new self-protecting USB Trojan able to avoid detection.
Right. This one's kind of cool.
Self-protecting or self-destructing?
No, it's self-protecting.
Self-protecting.
It sounds kind of.
Sounds kind of cool.
It sounds kind of next-gen Stuxnet-ish, actually, because it's designed to not make too much noise, which is what eventually gave Stuxnet away, right? Mm-hmm. It's the idea is to do data exfil, not just malware, but it's like, let's have the data come back here to this USB device, and then we'll just kind of keep it here and not spread, and then we'll report wherever we're found. So sounds kind of like maybe air gap jumping stuff. So you get an infected thumb drive, it crosses the air gap, it grabs some data, and it doesn't propagate, but the data stays there, but it beacons every now and then, and if it comes back to somewhere public, it says, hey, here I am. So it doesn't sound like they're trying to steal your W-2s.
This is the new USB malware. Because all of the auto run stuff has been turned off and largely mitigated, what they do is they put a version of Firefox and Notepad and they true crypt the USB drive so that people use it, they plug it in, people use it to browse the web, right?
Right.
Which is somewhat limited use case. There have to be a pretty elaborate social engineering trick, or I think it's limited use case so far. I could be wrong.
Which is why it sounds fairly targeted.
Well, unless you're marketing it as a device, like, hey, if your company doesn't let you browse the web with any other browser but Internet Explorer or something like that, or you want to browse anonymously and not have it stored in your corporate computer, you could market it to employees like that as, hey, plug this USB drive in, use Firefox on here. It'll let you use Firefox. It won't save anything to your hard drive, and it's encrypted. But there's malware on this USB drive, and there's some self-protection mechanisms in the malware to help it hide and protect it from being eradicated. So I think it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool article. Go read it.
Go read it. There you go.
That's pretty much it. Did anyone? Oh, you touched on a story earlier about there was a big healthcare hack or something.
MedStar.
MedStar.
Right? MedStar is basically the state of emergency reduced to paper. I've not heard today's update, but back to paper. They canceled a lot of non-life-threatening things. A lot of routine appointments, and I think it was Wired that said it was ransomware, but as of last night or this morning, the health group had not confirmed that it was ransomware. They hadn't said it wasn't. They hadn't said it was, but they're scrambling, and we don't know a lot about it yet. But it's it's bad things. It's bad things ripping up. It's
proactive,
right? It's bad things ripping up a network, and it happens to be a healthcare network, and so they're. In the language of healthcare, the bad guys are endangering patient outcomes, and that's bad. I mean, this is not just financial stuff. Dead people is bad, and that's no longer hyperbole with the amount of information that flies around electronically in a modern healthcare environment. I mean, things like access to drugs. If you can, instead of jackpotting the drug dispensing machines, you can take them offline. Yes, there are manual procedures to get the key and do the paperwork and whatever, but what about the emergency meds? What if you need to jam something into an IV quick for somebody that's flatlined, and it takes 10 minutes to go through the manual process to get at it? Yeah, that's sort of a scaremonger, but that's a very real scenario, right? It's one thing to screw with billing. I don't think you should screw with hospital billing. That's not nice. But when you start taking out the whole hospital and shutting down communications, intentional or otherwise, you're threatening patient outcomes, which is a polite way of saying dead people and suffering people. Even if all it does is it takes 10 extra minutes to get pain meds. If you've ever needed real pain meds lying in a hospital bed, 10 extra minutes is, that's fucking hell, right? So. Yeah, I don't know.
So I think this was a Kentucky-based hospital, if I remember correctly.
I need a martini, though. We need to.
Yeah, we need something.
We need to wrap up the show so we can drink.
Yeah.
but anyway, the information system director at the hospital said the malware involved was the Locky strain of ransomware.
Loki? L-O-K-I? Loki?
No, the Locky.
Locky. L-O-C-K-Y.
Locky.
That encrypts all files and documents and then deletes the originals.
It's very Locky.
And then typical ransomware, right? And then you have to pay the ransom to get the key to decrypt said documents. And they made the decision to declare a state of emergency, so to speak, which is, I think, a responsible decision given what they were dealing with.
And ransomware has really gotten to be no joke. I mean, I remember talking about ransomware early days of the show, and we'd be like, yeah, it's so ridiculous. There was this ransomware, and then, the key was in like a text file, or if you, reverse engineer the DLL, like there was the key, and like, but now.
That's no longer the case.
Not anymore.
No,
and
it
also
is like no
joke.
And now I think Locky's the one. Some of it will not just hit the hard drive. It'll attack any attached media and any mapped drives. Right, so it's not just so if your backup, if your backup is a USB 3 device that's hanging off the side of your laptop, guess what? That's POP2. And if you've mapped the drive to your NAS or your SAN for backup, and that map drive is accessible all the time, it's locked too. I shouldn't laugh at that, but you're redundantly screwed.
Well, on that note, being redundantly screwed, I want to thank Kevin, Joff, and Jack for coming on the show. Thanks to Carlos, who had to drop off, and our special guest, Alex Horan. Thanks everyone for watching, and we will see everyone next week on Security Weekly. Jack, take us out.
Over and out.
I'm gonna make you one of my martinis.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't know about very nice, but it was fun.
Thanks, Choff. Thanks, not Kevin.
And thank you so much, guys.
Thanks,
See you
not
next
Kevin.
week.
Cheers,
Thanks,
Paul.
Carlos,
Cheers, Jack.
wherever you
Love
are.
you guys. Talk to you later.